The great hall of the Galactic Council hummed with nervous energy. Representatives from 1,000 worlds shifted uneasily in their seats, their varied anatomies betraying a shared anxiety. At the center of the chamber, High Counselor Zixtal, a beam of shimmering light and complex geometries, called the assembly to order. Esteemed colleagues, Zixtal's melodious voice resonated through the hall. We face an unprecedented situation. A new spacefaring race has been detected in the Orion arm of our galaxy. They call themselves humans. A ripple of murmurs cascaded through the audience. New spacefaring races were rare, emerging perhaps once in a century. The last had been the warlike Krithak, whose brutal expansion had required the combined might of the Galactic Council to contain. Our preliminary observations indicate that these humans have achieved faster-than-light travel through entirely novel means, Zixtal continued. Their technology appears to be a hodgepodge of brilliant innovation and crude implementation. We must decide how to approach this potentially volatile situation. As the Council debated, unaware of the humans' true nature, events were unfolding light years away that would change the course of galactic history. The ESS Curiosity, humanity's first interstellar vessel, dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of an uncharted star system. Captain Sarah Chen surveyed her bridge crew with a mix of pride and apprehension. They had trained for years for this moment, but nothing could truly prepare them for being the first humans to set foot in an alien star system. All systems nominal, Captain, reported Lieutenant Commander Raj Patel from the science station. Preliminary scans show a habitable planet in the Goldilocks zone. And, wait a moment, I'm detecting artificial structures on the third moon of the gas giant in the outer system. Chen's heart raced. Alien life. Are you certain? Affirmative, Captain. The structures are too regular to be natural formations. Well, Chen said, a smile tugging at her lips, it seems the universe isn't as lonely as we thought. Helm, set a course for that moon. Let's introduce ourselves to the neighbors. As the Curiosity approached the moon, tension mounted on the bridge. The alien structures grew larger on their view screens, gleaming spires of an unknown metal, stretching towards the stars. Captain, the communications officer, Ensign Maria Lopez, called out, "We're receiving a transmission. It's a first contact greeting package." The crew erupted in cheers. They weren't just discovering alien life. They were meeting an advanced spacefaring civilization. Humanity's greatest dream and deepest fear were being realized simultaneously. The alien transmission contained language data, cultural information, and an invitation to land at designated coordinates. Captain Chen, after conferring with her senior staff and sending a message back to Earth, made the decision to accept. The landing was textbook perfect. As the airlock cycled open, Captain Chen took a deep breath. "Remember your training," she told her away team. "We represent all of humanity now." They stepped out onto the alien world, their boots leaving prints in the regolith, the first human footprints on an alien moon. Before them stood a delegation of the native species, tall, elegantly proportioned beings with iridescent skin and large, multifaceted eyes. Chen stepped forward, hand raised in what they hoped was a universal gesture of peace. "I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth ship Curiosity. We come in peace, seeking friendship and knowledge." The alien at the front of the group raised a limb in mirror of Chen's gesture. "I am Horlath, envoy of the Lumisol Confederation. We welcome you, humans of Earth, to our humble outpost." For a moment, it seemed as though the dreams of countless science fiction writers had come true. Humanity's first contact was going smoothly, peacefully. But then, in an instant, everything changed. A deafening alarm blared from the alien structures. Horlath's posture shifted from welcoming to defensive. "You bring weapons to a peaceful meeting," the alien accused, multifaceted eyes flashing with anger. Chen's mind raced. They had left all weapons aboard the Curiosity as a sign of good faith. "There must be some mistake," she began, but Horlath was no longer listening. The alien envoy barked orders in their native tongue, and suddenly, the human away team found themselves surrounded by armed guards, weapons trained on them from all sides. "Wait," Chen called out, desperation edging into her voice. "This is a misunderstanding. We came in peace." But the universal translators couldn't convey the sincerity in her tone. The Lumisol guards advanced, their weapons humming with barely contained energy. In that moment, with diplomacy failing and conflict seeming inevitable, humanity's unique traits came to the fore. It wasn't their technology or their weapons that would save them, but their creativity, their ability to think outside the box. Lieutenant Commander Patel, his scientific mind racing, noticed something about the aliens' weapons. "Captain," he whispered urgently, "their weapons. They're based on sonic technology. Our suit radios." Chen understood immediately. With a swift motion, she activated her suit's external speakers and cranked the volume to maximum. Everyone, tuned to emergency frequency, gamma, and broadcast. The away team complied instantly, and a wall of cacophonous sound erupted from their suits. The effect on the Lumisol was immediate and dramatic. They recoiled, their weapons dropping from suddenly uncoordinated limbs, their eyes unfocused. "Now," Chen shouted, "back to the ship." As the humans retreated, Exorlath managed to shake off the effects of the sonic assault. The alien envoy stared at the departing humans with a mix of fear and was that respect. Aboard the Curiosity, as they broke orbit and prepared to jump to hyperspace, the crew was subdued. Their first contact had nearly ended in disaster. "We came so close," Chen mused, staring at the alien moon receding on their view screen. "So close to peace, to understanding." "Maybe we still are," Captain Paddle offered. "We defended ourselves without causing harm. That has to count for something." Chen nodded slowly. "Perhaps you're right. And who knows? Maybe this is just the beginning of humanity's grand adventure among the stars." As the Curiosity vanished into hyperspace, carrying word of their encounter back to Earth, the crew couldn't know that their actions had set in motion events that would reshape the galaxy. On the alien moon, Exorlath was already composing an urgent message to the Galactic Council. The humans, it seemed, were unlike any species they had encountered before. They were unpredictable, resourceful, and capable of turning even the most mundane technology into an effective defense. The galaxy would need to reassess its understanding of what it meant to be a warrior race. For humanity, the true test was just beginning. The diplomat's gambit. The news of the Curiosity's encounter spread through Earth like wildfire. Humanity's first contact had been a mixture of triumph and near disaster, leaving the world's leaders scrambling to formulate a response. After weeks of intense debate and preparation, a decision was reached. Earth would send a diplomatic mission to the Galactic Council. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez stood before the mirror in her quarters aboard the ESS Olive Branch, Earth's most advanced diplomatic vessel. She straightened her jacket, a nervous habit she'd never quite shaken. As Earth's chosen representative, the weight of humanity's future rested on her shoulders. "Ambassador," her AI assistant chimed, "we're approaching the coordinates for the Galactic Council station." Elena took a deep breath. "Thank you, Araya. Let's make history." The olive branch dropped out of hyperspace, and Elena's breath caught in her throat. Before them floated a massive structure, a marvel of engineering that dwarfed anything humanity had ever built. The Galactic Council station was a sprawling metropolis in space, home to representatives from 1,000 worlds. As they docked, Elena couldn't help but feel a twinge of anxiety. The station's immense scale served as a stark reminder of just how new humanity was to the galactic stage. The reception committee that greeted them was a kaleidoscope of alien life. Beings of all shapes, sizes, and compositions filled the cavernous docking bay. At their head stood a familiar face, or rather, a familiar set of multifaceted eyes. "Envoy Exorlath," Elena said, inclining her head in what she hoped was a respectful gesture. "I'm Ambassador Elena Rodriguez of Earth. We're honored to be here." Exorlath's iridescent skin shimmered with what Elena interpreted as discomfort. Ambassador, the Galactic Council awaits your address. Follow me. As they made their way through the station's winding corridors, Elena couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The aliens they passed regarded the human delegation with a mixture of curiosity and was that fear. The council chamber was a vast amphitheater, with thousands of seats arranged in concentric circles around a central platform. As Elena took her place at the speaker's podium, she felt the weight of countless alien gazes upon her. High Counselor Zixtal's voice rang out, silencing the murmurs that had filled the chamber. Representatives of the Galactic Council, we convene today to address the matter of the newly discovered species known as humans. Ambassador Rodriguez, you have the floor. Elena began her carefully prepared speech, outlining humanity's history, culture, and aspirations. She spoke of peace, of mutual understanding and cooperation. But as she talked, she noticed the glazed looks in the eyes, or equivalent sensory organs, of many council members. They weren't listening. Worse, they had already made up their minds. As she concluded, a cacophony of voices erupted from the assembly. The universal translators struggled to keep up with the barrage of questions and accusations. How can we trust a species that turns communication devices into weapons? Demanded a gelatinous being from the third tier. Their technology is crude and unpredictable. They're a danger to themselves and others, shouted another. Elena tried to respond, but her voice was drowned out by the rising tide of xenophobic fear. She glanced at her team, seeing her own desperation mirrored in their eyes. This was going nowhere. Then, in a moment of clarity, Elena remembered something from her cultural briefing. Many of the elder races in the council communicated not just through words, but through complex harmonies. An idea began to form. She stepped away from the podium, motioning for her team to join her. In clear view of the entire council, Elena began to hum. It was an old Earth melody, simple yet haunting. One by one, her team joined in, their voices blending in harmony. The effect was immediate. The chamber fell silent, all attention focused on the small group of humans and their unexpected performance. As the last notes faded away, Elena spoke softly, her words carried to every corner of the room by the perfect acoustics. We may be new to your galaxy, but we are not without depth. We create art, music, and beauty alongside our technology. We seek to understand, to explore, to grow. Yes, we can be unpredictable, but that same trait allows us to find solutions where others see only problems. She paused, looking around the chamber. The hostile atmosphere had shifted to one of curiosity. We don't ask you to trust us blindly, Elena continued. We ask only for the chance to prove ourselves as worthy members of this galactic community. As she stepped back, a new murmur filled the chamber. It was different this time, thoughtful, considering. Elena had broken through their preconceptions, if only for a moment. Zixtal's voice cut through the discussions. A most unconventional approach, Ambassador. The council will recess to discuss your petition. As Elena and her team were escorted to a waiting area, she allowed herself a small smile. It wasn't a victory, not yet, but it was a start. Hours passed as the council deliberated. Elena paced the waiting room, her mind racing with possibilities and contingencies. Finally, they were summoned back to the chamber. Zixtal's form shimmered as they delivered the council's decision. The Galactic Council has voted to grant humanity probationary status. You will be allowed limited access to council resources and restricted travel rights within council space. A review of your status will be conducted in one standard galactic year. It wasn't everything they had hoped for, but it was far better than outright rejection. Elena bowed deeply. The people of Earth thank you for this opportunity. We will endeavor to prove ourselves worthy of your trust. As the human delegation prepared to depart, Exorlath approached Elena. Ambassador, that was unexpected. Perhaps we have underestimated your species. Elena smiled. That's the thing about humans. Envoy Xorlath. We're full of surprises. But as they boarded the olive branch for the journey home, Alina's smile faded. She had bought humanity time and a foot in the door, but the real challenges were just beginning. And unbeknownst to her, events were unfolding at the edges of known space that would soon test humanity in ways they could never have imagined. In the darkness between the stars, an ancient enemy stirred, one that would force the Galactic Council and humanity to reevaluate everything they thought they knew about warfare, survival, and what it truly meant to be a warrior race. The engineering marvel. The Galactic Council's emergency session was in its third rotation, and the atmosphere in the Grand Chamber was thick with tension. Reports from the Outer Rim had confirmed their worst fears. The Void Swarm, an ancient and implacable enemy thought long defeated, had returned. High Counselor Zixtal's usual shimmer was dim and erratic, a clear sign of distress. The swarm has already consumed 3 systems. Our defenses are failing. If we cannot find a way to stop them, the entire galaxy will fall. The chamber erupted into chaos as representatives from 1,000 worlds shouted suggestions and accusations. In the midst of the pandemonium, a small group of humans sat quietly, observing. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, Earth's representative to the Council's Science Division, leaned over to Ambassador Elena Rodriguez. "They're not thinking clearly," she whispered. "Fear is clouding their judgment." Elena nodded grimly. In the months since Earth had been granted probationary status, they had worked tirelessly to integrate into galactic society. But old prejudices died hard, and many still viewed humans as primitive upstarts. As the debate raged on, Elena made a decision. She stood, activating her universal translator to broadcast across the chamber. "Esteemed members of the Council, if I may speak." The noise died down as all eyes turned to the human. Zixtal's form pulsed in what Elena had learned was a gesture of assent. "The Council recognizes the representative from Earth." Elena took a deep breath. "We've heard much about the capabilities of the Void Swarm, their ability to absorb energy weapons, their immunity to most forms of radiation. But every enemy has a weakness. We propose a joint task force, combining the knowledge of the Council races with human ingenuity. Give us access to your data on the swarm, and let us work together to find a solution." A ripple of murmurs spread through the chamber. Xorlath, now serving as the Lumisol representative to the Council, spoke up. "With all due respect, Ambassador, what could your species possibly offer that our combined millennia of scientific knowledge cannot?" Dr. Tanaka stood, her eyes blazing with determination. "A fresh perspective. Sometimes it takes an outsider to see what those too close to a problem have missed." After hours of heated debate, the Council reluctantly agreed. The human scientists were granted access to the galactic archives, under strict supervision. For weeks, Dr. Tanaka and her team pored over the data, cross-referencing it with human scientific knowledge. They worked tirelessly, fueled by a combination of caffeine, determination, and the knowledge that the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. It was during one of their rare breaks that inspiration struck. Dr. Tanaka was absently stirring her coffee, watching the liquid swirl in her mug, when she suddenly sat bolt upright. "That's it," she exclaimed, startling her colleagues. "We've been thinking about this all wrong. We can't stop the swarm. We need to redirect it." The next council session was electric with anticipation. Dr. Tanaka stood before the assembled representatives, her holographic display filling the chamber. "Honorable members of the Council," she began, "we propose a solution based on principles of fluid dynamics and gravitational manipulation. The Void Swarm, for all its terrifying abilities, behaves in many ways like a fluid. We can use this against them." As she outlined the plan, a mix of disbelief and hope spread through the chamber. The humans proposed constructing a massive array of gravitational lenses, strategically positioned to create a galactic-scale vortex that would funnel the swarm away from populated systems and into the supermassive black hole at the galaxy's center. "It's audacious," Hexorlath admitted when the presentation concluded. But the power requirements alone make it unfeasible. We'd need to harvest the energy of entire stars. Dr. Tanaka smiled. That's where another human innovation comes in. We've been developing a theoretical model for Dyson swarms, networks of satellites that can capture a star's energy output. Combined with your more advanced technology, we believe we can make it work. The debate that followed was intense. Many council members argued that the plan was too risky, too untested. But as reports of the swarm's advance continued to pour in, desperation began to outweigh caution. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, High Councillor Zixtol called for a vote. The chamber held its breath as the results were tallied. The council has reached a decision, Zixtol announced, their form pulsing with a mixture of emotions. By a narrow margin, we will proceed with the human plan. May the stars have mercy on us all if we're wrong. The next months were a whirlwind of activity. Construction began on a scale never before seen in the galaxy. Entire fleets were repurposed to build the massive gravitational lenses. Stars were encased in fields of energy-collecting satellites. And at the heart of it all were the humans, working alongside the best minds the galaxy had to offer, refining and perfecting their plan. Dr. Tanaka stood on the observation deck of the lead construction ship, watching as another gravitational lens slid into position. Ambassador Rodriguez joined her, her face etched with worry. "Will it be enough?" Elena asked softly. Yuki turned to her friend, determination burning in her eyes. "It has to be. We've staked everything on this plan. If it fails..." She left the sentence unfinished. They both knew what failure meant. Not just for humanity, but for every sentient being in the galaxy. As they watched the construction unfold before them, a priority message flashed across their screens. Elena's face paled as she read it. "The swarm," she whispered. "They've broken through the outer defenses. They'll be here in less than a week." Yuki's jaw set in a hard line. "Then we'd better hope this works. Because we're out of time and out of options." As alarms blared across the construction fleet, the two women shared a look of grim determination. The greatest test of human ingenuity was about to begin, and the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. Little did they know, the true nature of their creation, and its consequences, would soon reshape their understanding of what it meant to be a warrior race in a universe full of terrors. The battle for survival. The vast emptiness of space was shattered by the ominous approach of the void swarm. Like a rolling storm of cosmic proportions, it consumed everything in its path. Planets, stars, even the very fabric of space-time itself. The outer defenses of the Galactic Council, once thought impregnable, had crumbled in mere days. Aboard the command ship Luminous Hope, a tense silence gripped the bridge. Representatives from every major species in the galaxy stood shoulder to shoulder, united by the imminent threat of extinction. At the center of it all, Dr. Yuki Tanaka and Ambassador Elena Rodriguez watched the holographic display with bated breath. High Councillor Zixtol's form flickered anxiously. "Dr. Tanaka, the swarm will be within range of the first gravitational lens in less than an hour. Are you certain this will work?" Yuki's eyes never left the display. "As certain as we can be, Counselor. The simulations all point to success, but this is beyond anything we've ever attempted." Helena placed a reassuring hand on her friend's shoulder. "If anyone can pull this off, it's you, Yuki." A harsh laugh cut through the tension. Hexorlath, the Lumley Soul representative, shook his head. "To think, the fate of the galaxy rests on the theories of a species that was hurling rocks at each other just a few millennia ago." Before anyone could respond, alarms blared across the bridge. A young ensign's voice rang out, panic evident in their tone. "Counselor, we're detecting a massive surge in the swarm's energy signature. They're accelerating." Zixtol's form pulsed rapidly. "Impossible. At that speed, they'll reach the core worlds before the gravitational array is fully operational." For a moment, despair threatened to overwhelm the assembled leaders. Then, Elena's voice cut through the chaos. "We need to buy more time. What if we engage the swarm directly?" The suggestion was met with stunned silence. It was Torlath who finally spoke, his voice dripping with disbelief. "You can't be serious. Our most advanced weapons are useless against them. It would be suicide." Delena's eyes blazed with determination. "Not if we use the right weapons. Dr. Tanaka, correct me if I'm wrong, but the swarm absorbs energy, right? What about kinetic weapons?" Yuki's eyes widened as she caught on to Elena's train of thought. "Theoretically, yes. Kinetic impacts would be harder for them to absorb. But we'd need something massive, moving at incredible speeds to make a dent in their defenses." A grim smile spread across Elena's face. "I think I know just the thing. Counselor Zixtal, I need to contact Earth immediately." What followed was a flurry of activity that would be remembered in the annals of galactic history. As the gravitational lens array continued its final preparations, a desperate plan was set in motion. On Earth, every available resource was diverted to a single monumental task. Massive railguns, the likes of which had only existed in theoretical weapons research, were hastily constructed on the moon's surface. Their payload, specially designed projectiles made from the densest materials known to humanity, each one the size of a small asteroid. As the Void Swarm entered the outer reaches of the Council's territory, they were met not with energy weapons or radiation, but with a hail of hypervelocity projectiles. The first impacts were devastating, tearing holes in the swarm's seemingly impenetrable front. Aboard the Luminous Hope, a cheer went up as the data came in. "It's working," Yuki exclaimed, her fingers flying over the holographic controls. "The kinetic impacts are disrupting their cohesion. It's slowing them down." But the victory was short-lived. The swarm, displaying an alien intelligence that defied understanding, began to adapt. It shifted and flowed, becoming more diffuse, harder to hit. "We can't keep this up forever," Elena said, her voice tight with tension. "Yuki, how much longer until the array is ready?" Dr. Tanaka's face was grim. "We need at least another hour." But at this rate, she didn't need to finish the sentence. They all knew that Earth's desperate gambit had bought them time, but not enough. The swarm was still advancing, slower now, but inexorable. It was in this moment of despair that humanity's unique approach to problem-solving once again came to the fore. A junior engineer monitoring the gravitational lens array spoke up hesitantly. "Dr. Tanaka, what if we reversed the polarity on some of the lenses?" Yuki's head snapped up. "What? That would create conflicting gravitational fields. It could tear the array apart." The young engineer swallowed hard but pressed on. "Yes, but what if we did it in a controlled way? Create a series of gravitational shockwaves." For a moment, Yuki was silent, her mind racing through calculations. Then, slowly, a smile spread across her face. "It's insane. It's brilliant. It might just work." What followed was a symphony of coordinated chaos. As Earth's kinetic barrage continued to harass the swarm, the gravitational lens array was hastily reconfigured. Lenses began to pulse in a carefully orchestrated sequence, sending ripples of distorted space-time cascading towards the approaching enemy. The effect was beyond anything they had dared to hope for. The gravitational shockwaves tore through the swarm, scattering its component parts across light-years of space. Those fragments that remained intact were caught in the inexorable pull of the array's primary function, funneling them towards the supermassive black hole at the galaxy's center. On the bridge of the Luminous Hope, silence reigned as the assembled leaders of the galaxy watched in awe. The Void Swarm, terror of countless civilizations, was being unmade before their eyes. Hours passed, feeling like an eternity. Finally, as the last traces of the swarm vanished into the event horizon of the galactic core, Yuki's tired voice broke the silence. "It's done. The swarm is gone." The chamber erupted in cheers, tears, and every expression of joy imaginable across 1,000 species. In the midst of it all, Elena and Yuki, shared a quiet embrace, the weight of their achievement almost too much to bear. As the initial euphoria began to fade, High Counselor Zixtal approached the two humans. Their form was pulsing with an emotion that the universal translators struggled to convey, something between awe and profound respect. "You have done the impossible," Zixtal said softly. "You have saved us all." Elena smiled tiredly. "We did it together, Counselor. All of us." As the luminous hope began its journey back to the Council homeworld, the leaders of the galaxy gathered to discuss the future. But now, there was a new voice at the table, a human voice, and with it came the dawning realization that the definition of a warrior race might need some serious reconsideration. The battle was over, but the true challenge, forging a new path forward for a grateful but forever changed galaxy, was just beginning. A new understanding. The grand amphitheater of the Galactic Council was filled to capacity, a sea of diverse life forms from across the galaxy. The air buzzed with anticipation as High Counselor Zixtal took the central podium, their shimmering form radiating an aura of solemnity. "Esteemed representatives," Zixtal began, their melodious voice carrying to every corner of the vast chamber, "we gather today not just as survivors, but as witnesses to a new era in galactic history." The counselor's gaze swept across the assembly, lingering for a moment on the human delegation. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez and Dr. Yuki Tanaka sat tall, their faces a mixture of pride and humility. "The defeat of the Void Swarm has forced us to confront many of our long-held beliefs," Zixtal continued. "We have long categorized species based on their military might, their technological advancements, or their spiritual enlightenment. But recent events have shown us the short-sightedness of such classifications." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Many of the older races shifted uncomfortably, aware of the paradigm shift that was about to be proposed. The humans, a species we initially dismissed as primitive and potentially dangerous, have proven to be our salvation, not through overwhelming firepower or mystical abilities, but through innovation, adaptability, and an indomitable spirit. Zixtal's form pulsed with emotion. "They have shown us that true strength lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the capacity to create, to solve problems in ways we never imagined possible." The counselor paused, allowing the weight of their words to settle over the assembly. "It is with this new understanding that we put forth a motion to grant humanity full membership in the Galactic Council, with all the rights and responsibilities that entails." The chamber erupted into a cacophony of voices. Some cheered, others protested, but all knew that this moment would be etched in the annals of galactic history. As the debate raged on, Elena leaned over to Yuki. "Did you ever imagine we'd end up here when we first set out into space?" she whispered. Yuki shook her head, a wry smile on her lips. "Never in my wildest dreams. But then again, that's kind of our thing, isn't it? Doing the unexpected." Their conversation was interrupted as Korlath, the Lumisol representative, approached their seats. His multifaceted eyes reflected a complexity of emotions. "Ambassador, Doctor," he began, his tone uncharacteristically humble, "I owe you an apology. I was among the loudest voices opposing your inclusion in galactic affairs. I was wrong, and I am grateful for it." Elena stood, extending her hand in the human gesture of reconciliation. After a moment's hesitation, Korlath took it. His iridescent skin shimmering with what they had learned was the Lumisol expression of respect. "There's no need for apologies, Representative Exorlath," Elena said warmly. "We're all learning, growing. That's what this is all about, isn't it?" As the Council's deliberations continued, news of humanity's pivotal role in defeating the Void Swarm spread across the galaxy. On countless worlds, beings of all forms and philosophies looked to the stars with new eyes, wondering about the small blue planet that had changed everything. On Earth, the reaction was one of awe and cautious optimism. The knowledge that they were not alone in the universe, and that they had played a crucial role in saving it, sparked a renaissance in art, science, and philosophy. The petty conflicts that had once seemed so important faded in the face of a greater galactic perspective. Back in the council chamber, the vote was finally called. The tension was palpable as the results were tallied. High Counselor Zixtal's form pulsed brightly as they announced the outcome. By an overwhelming majority, the motion has passed. Humanity is hereby granted full membership in the Galactic Council. The chamber erupted in applause. Alina and Yuki embraced, tears of joy streaming down their faces. They had done it. They had secured humanity's place among the stars. As the celebration died down, Zixtal raised their appendages for silence. But let this moment serve as more than just a victory for humanity. Let it be a lesson to us all. The term warrior race must be redefined. True strength lies not in the ability to wage war, but in the courage to forge peace, the wisdom to learn from others, and the creativity to find solutions where none seemed possible. The counselor's gaze swept across the assembly once more. As we move forward into this new era, let us carry with us the spirit of innovation and cooperation that has brought us here. For in the vast expanse of the cosmos, it is not our differences that define us, but our shared capacity for growth, understanding, and unity. As the session concluded and the representatives began to file out, Alina found herself looking out at the star-filled vista beyond the council station's windows. The galaxy stretched out before her, vast and full of possibilities. "So," Yuki said, joining her at the window, "what's next for humanity?" Alina smiled, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "Who knows? But whatever challenges we face, whatever wonders we discover, we'll face them together. Not just as humans, but as part of something greater." As they stood there, two humans gazing out at the cosmic tapestry they now call home, both felt a profound sense of hope. They had rewritten the definition of what it meant to be a warrior race, and in doing so, they had opened up a future brighter than any star in the galaxy. The human adventure among the stars had only just begun.